Well, look, a big focus for the group after Saturday's game was to start brighter, to try and be a tad more aggressive. And I thought the opening 20 minutes of the game was a far better spectacle than maybe we saw at the weekend, where we were a little bit passive. And there were a couple of opportunities. Obviously, the most notable one was Fafa's header that may have changed the direction of the game. And we'll get back to that point against very good teams where there's not going to be an awful lot of chances. They had 2 shots, 1 on target, and made the difference. We had 8 shots, 0 on target, and were unable to test the goalkeeper in a game where I think we'd all agree there were at least 2 or 3 moments that could have been more clinical and certainly more effective in this game. Tight game. Good side. Didn't go our way. But I thought the early exchanges for sure were far better. The concerns obviously later on in the game when we were chasing it, there needed to be a tad more composure, but there were some signs there that I thought early on that looked an awful lot better in a game that was always going to be very tight.
Thank you, Coach. Go ahead.
Gary, I have to ask you about officiating. I saw you go and talk to them after the match. This is not the first time this is brought up here. What did you see from them tonight?
Yeah, I'm obviously bitterly disappointed. I saw the goal on a monitor, which I'm not allowed to use as evidence on the touchline of this shouldn't be a goal. But what I saw on the monitor led me to believe that the goal was offside. I can't believe I've got a better angle on a laptop from the angle we had than VAR or the officials should have had. And unless somebody can say categorically that I'm wrong, I still believe that the goal was marginally offside. I found it difficult to understand, even from where the officials would have seen it, that Maguire makes a run in front of Jack Mayer, who is clearly the last defender, and it looked very much like Santos, who delivered the ball, was marginally behind him, but working the ball into space. That's what I saw. It's the biggest decision in the game, and it's won Orlando the game, and obviously made us feel, far more disappointed than maybe we would have done with a point again. So I can't answer that question. The officials, not just the goal. I thought there were some other occasions that, were strange. Let's just put it that way. There were some strange decisions that, in a game where Orlando seemed intent, for the quality team that they are, they spent so much time trying to run down the clock. It was really weird. I would have expected more than that from a team of that quality. But they obviously have their style, and their manager is obviously reinforcing certain qualities and, gentlemanly conduct abilities. When you're winning, I guess, you can go through that process, but it's not a thing. It's not anything that I would want from my team. Let me put it that way.
For those on the Zoom, if you have a question, just alert me. In the meantime, we'll continue in the room here. Then go ahead, please.
Yeah, Gary, you mentioned kind of the opening 15, 20 minutes. I think within the first 25 minutes you had taken as many shots as you did in the whole game against Seattle. And it definitely did seem brighter, but as the game went on, obviously, it did seem like it was harder and harder to find any space. No shots in stoppage time.
Yeah.
Just at home in a game where you need a goal, how do you, it just seems kind of like you're not able to find something from a situation like this. When do you think?
Yeah, look, I thought he was going to use that word concerning again, and I was ready for it. But, yeah, listen, you're right. The opening exchanges were far better. I've already said that. I thought the group looked like fatigue had just set into that final 10 minutes of the first half, and they were able to find a breakthrough. And let's be really honest about this. Against a very good side who have a fantastic away record and are in a great position in the league, to limit a side like that to 2 shots in the game, 2 shots fully, and 1 on target is, in certain terms, very, very good work. So, as I've said, I was happy with the first half. What happened at half-time or after half-time, having gone behind in a difficult moment, minute before the break or 2 minutes before the break? It's always disappointing, but the message was that, we needed to start off with the same sort of intensity and mindset as we did in the first half. And I thought there was some good energy early on, although not the same sort of chances. Yes, for sure, as we got into the meat of that second period, and certainly as the game finished up, it looked as though, the group were, clutching at straws a little bit in the way that we were going to try and find an opening. It looked like confidence had been eroded, and some individuals that we obviously looked towards to try and make a difference were dropping deeper and deeper, which you can understand to a large degree. There are a couple of guys that want to get on the ball and they want to try and make a difference, and that's all a consequence of obviously being behind and against a side that know how to navigate those situations as they did. But look, let me finish up with this for the question. We're all frustrated about the defeat. There were some things in it that I think we can actually grasp onto and move forward with, which is good news. There are definitely things that we can discuss about that probably final 25 minutes of the game. But most importantly, I think the group have agreed that we've got more than enough quality to what we'd like to maybe class as do some damage in the playoffs. I'm not sure there are many teams that would want to play us, but at this moment in time, there's just a lack of sparkle, and it can be the tiniest of things and the most simplistic of moments that can change the course of events. And Fafa's header early on, that he heads into the ground a yard away from him and bounces over, he's pretty unique. I'm not sure he could do that again, but those moments against good teams make a big difference, because now they've got to try and pick a lock, and that's where we've got to get to. Still ultra confident about what we can get out of this final running. Still very, very confident about what we will be able to achieve in the playoffs. But I know we would all like, at this point in time in these final 3 games, just to be reminded of really what we achieved in the Leagues Cup and in some of our finer moments. And I think that's what we need at this point in time.
Claudio, go ahead.
Gary, obviously a lot of these good things, like you said, are going to be pressuring Nashville highlight or not lead today, because they know that by doing that they might prevent the transition, which is one of the benefits for sure. But then, and that's going to happen probably. But how do you avoid with the team to get so much frustrated when that happens? They are actually chosen.
Yeah. You know what? In the first half, Claudio, I thought there were some moments where we've, over the course of the last maybe 2 months, I think we've improved dramatically when we've built out of the back. And I've said to the guys, we need to be selective, but there are going to be moments where we can build out of the back from goal kicks, and we can get an overload, and we can take advantage. Teams are leaving themselves 3v3 and 2v2 at the back, and they're moments to try and take advantage of. The second period, after an initial burst, I thought we tried to force things a little bit. Maybe the moment wasn't there. There was a mistake made. Okay, I tell you what, we might have to go a little bit longer here and try and do what we've also done very, very well. Win that second phase area and win the ball higher up the field. And then we'll go again and mix that game up a little bit. Because there were a couple of occasions in the middle part of the second half where they nicked it in very good areas. and it could have been, quite decisive. So a little bit of management in those periods. I like the confidence of the guys to want to try and achieve that, but maybe maybe a little bit more perspective of how the game's going. But I do think, as we're talking about the group and some of the areas that we need to, just click back into gear with, it's of course in those attacking areas. We're lacking that invention and sparkle. I think we're lacking a little bit of a connection as well. There was one, I remember it was right in front of us. Somebody intercepted in the middle part of the field, played out to Fafa. Fafa gets on his way. We've got Sam and Hani breaking, and Fafa plays a ball inside that doesn't connect, and they nick it and go back the other way. Okay, everyone will forget about that because it didn't come to a chance. But what we know is, at our best, we might get something out of that. There's a moment to be had. There's a threat to be had which starts to build in the opponent's mind. And I think it's those moments when you're lacking a little bit of confidence, which I think some of the guys are at this point in time. Working tirelessly, putting themselves, in good positions, but those finer moments, those really important moments, we're just missing those connections, and it's got to be uppermost in our mind for sure in these final 3 games.
Go ahead.
Gary, you mentioned this past Saturday was Sam's building up to getting 90 minutes under his belt. He has 90 minutes and then some tonight. How do you like his performance from tonight as well, along with, when Teal came into the mix in that second half, variation of attack? What did you think of Sam's, counter off the ball back?
I think he'll come out of this as one of the guys with probably the most pleasing and confident attitude. It's been a while since he's played 90 minutes. There were times on the line I was worried about maybe pushing a little bit too far, but obviously the circumstances led us to that. I thought there were some really nice moments, and maybe we're coming off here and saying he gets himself an assist. He was actually in a fantastic position. I think it was Sam, and Fafa hits the first man with his cross, and just a little bit more quality there, and maybe we're saying he's got an assist and a goal. And they're the really fine lines we're talking about. They're all ifs, buts and maybes. It didn't happen. So therefore we can only lean on the fact that he's had a good 90 minutes. He'll feel great about that. I'm pleased that him, Hani, Randall, Fafa, some of those attacking players have seen the field for a prolonged period of time. And I'm hopeful that those minutes are going to be instrumental in maybe what we see further down the line, because it's going to be a mainline piece of the puzzle. Hopefully that gives him a little bit of a shot in the arm, and we'll see Saturday where that takes us. But right now, yes, the results are important. I think we'd have all come off clean sheet or 1-1, and we might have said, okay, that weren't so bad. So the result is obviously shining a bit of a darker light on it, and absolutely so. But I think, certainly from where I sit, and I know you guys are thinking all the same thing, how do we get that invention, that sparkle, and that real edge back in there after the field? And that's going to be the real, focus over the next couple of weeks, and certainly 3 games that we've got left.
Tim, go ahead.
Hey Gary, looking forward to Saturday's game. How do you guys react without Daniel available after his red card tonight? And kind of what is your, general, motivation about the game? What is your kind of philosophy as you go into Saturday's game on the heels of 2 matches that probably disappointed you a little bit?
Yeah, well, a lot actually. It's another playoff challenge. We're looking at a team that could be part of the equation for us. I would think the way Philadelphia are positioning themselves, it certainly could be a case of we've got to go through Philadelphia again if we want to achieve anything. They've constantly been a challenge. Every game we've played has been incredibly tight or physically demanding. None more so than a game that we played here, seems like an eternity ago now, but if I remember rightly, we're talking about some very similar things in the game. I thought there was a penalty early on when Glesnes came through the back of Teal, and I remember it because it was a penalty in my mind. There were opportunities, I think, that Teal had in the game that may well have changed the direction of that particular game. And then 2 penalties and 2 sendings off, if I'm right, that, took the game away from us. So there's an aspect of this game that I think a lot of the guys will want to try and redeem. But most importantly, as I've said so much here, I won't go over it anymore. Confidence, bit of inspiration. We've got to find, our springboard and platform to push on. And we'll work towards that at the weekend. That'll be the first protocol.
Yeah, I mean, no doubt about it. There's a lot of frustrated guys in the locker room. The home form and the inability to get 3 points the past couple of games is frustrating for all of us. So it's not the standard we want to set, but we know we have 3 games left to get some momentum as we head into the postseason, and I think the confidence remains that we can take down anyone in the postseason. And I don't think teams are going to be wanting to draw us. That's for sure.
Walker, in terms of the refereeing, we saw a lot of frustrating moments today from you guys on the field and Gary as well, who's just talking to us. Do you have any thoughts on the way things went?
I mean, certainly it's a situation where I try and highlight things that happened to me, specifically on corner kicks. Mention it to the ref. I'm not going to go into it because I know we don't talk about those things too much, but I mean, it's something that I think everyone should look at again. It's frustrating when you feel like you create movements to get open and then calls don't go your way.
How much of the frustration and Walker goes from the fact that you guys try to create game and then referees like tonight prevent that from that kind of a...
Well, I mean, to be fair, I don't think this is a game that we're blaming the result on the refereeing alone. That happens every game where you have calls going for you and against you. I think looking at some of the numbers, the stats, like Gary brought up, they have 1 shot on goal. We have 8 but 0 on goal. We had some good chances in that first 30 minutes that I think we can put the game away. We take the lead, completely different game. And so yeah, we're definitely getting frustrated as games go on and we get down, and it makes it difficult for us. And so we got to figure out, 1, how we can play when we are behind, and then 2, make sure that we continue to be positive as we enter those final phases, because it just felt like as a group just a little bit off, a little bit stale, and not quite sharp enough to create more chances in the last 15-20 minutes.
Walker, there's been a lot of talk about frustration and maybe a lack of connection going on the field. There's a lot of mispasses going on. Since Leagues Cup, and it just seemed to be out of rhythm. And I know that you talked about maybe teams don't want to draw you in the playoffs, but the playoffs are drawing near with just 3 games left. Mm-hmm. And how do you expect to maybe get out of that funk, so to speak?
Yeah, I think we've proven that we can beat anyone. We've proven that we can make some magic happen, especially in a knockout type situation through Leagues Cup, and so that's the same as the postseason format. So we're comfortable with how we can play against teams in a knockout format. It doesn't, take away from the fact that we can be better, and we all know that, and that's why it's frustrating. It's not like we're going out there and we're not getting a result because we aren't as talented or aren't good enough. We think we're frustrated because we know we are good enough. And so that's the takeaway from us in the locker room. And I know we'll have, a lot of closed door meetings as the playoffs approach, just to air everything out, make sure everyone's on the same page. And the message tonight after the game was, we're the only ones who can get ourselves out of it, and that means we gotta stick together. But at the same time, if guys want to talk and address different issues that they think we can fix, this is the time to do it as we near the postseason, to make sure we're clicking and all on the same page.
Walker, in the first half, Orlando came out with high press for the most part. How do you guys, think you reacted overall to that? And then in the second half, it kind of switched a little bit. And what was your kind of mindset from the back, as the game transitioned?
Yeah, I thought we actually did our best run of form was in that first 30 minutes when they were stepping up high. We were able to have a couple quick combinations, switch to the other side, or get in behind a little bit and create some crosses and chances. Best chance was probably to Fafa there on a cross from Sam, really good ball. So that happened with us being aggressive, winning the ball at midfield, quick counter, create chances. We had a couple times where the final pass was just off, a little clip over the top, threw ball in behind, and it's the right idea. And so those are moments where, yeah, it's frustrating that it doesn't come off, but you applaud the guy, you say, head up, that's a great look, that's the right pass, and it didn't come off. So, I thought that was probably our best stretch was the first 30 minutes. They ended up getting a lot of the ball there in the second half, and we were definitely, running side to side, couldn't get a lot of pressure, and probably need to evaluate how we can step up, create a little bit more pressure, and get the ball back in that final phase.
Is that where the frustration kind of grew, is right after the 30-minute mark, kind of frustration started to grow even more?
I think the frustration was coming in at halftime down a goal. I mean, looking at what we put into it, the one chance they have, it's an extremely preventable goal from us. It's not the standard that we hold ourselves to on the defensive side of things. It's routine. It's a play that, I can do better on the initial chest, sliding, intercept the ball, don't connect it. We're in transition, and we work on that all the time, defending low when the ball gets wide, how we drop down, how we cover, get across to make plays, and it's something that I think, you look at a couple of us in the back line, we want that back, and those are goals that we don't expect to give up.
Team, final question.
Hey, Walker, as you look at the final 3-game stretch run here, obviously 2 teams ahead of you, and then a New York Red Bulls team that you guys haven't beaten yet in MLS. How do you approach these final 3 games, knowing what I guess potentially could, result from a strong run to finish the regular season?
I think we know that, our goal the last couple of games was to try and put ourselves in a position to have that home field advantage. We know that possibility is slimming down. It's not out of the question, but we probably have to run the table. So we're still thinking about doing that. But the reality is that's going to be difficult to do. I said it earlier, I don't think it changes anything for us, especially in that first playoff series. We're a great team on the road. We're a good team at home. We want to improve our home form, but I'm sure Geodis will be rocking for that home playoff game regardless. And again, I feel really confident that we can go up against anyone if we don't get that home field advantage.
Thank you.